Hi, nice to meet you. So, we're just going to ask a couple of questions relating to curators within the Aboriginal world. And so, my first question is, what was the reason why you became a curator within the Aboriginal and/or Torres Strait Islander art world?
Yep. So my name's Bronwyn Bancroft and I'm a Bundjalung woman, and currently I'm the cultural coordinator, and I've been a founding member here at Boomalli Aboriginal Artists Cooperative for 30 years and a volunteer senior strategist and curator for the last 9. So one of the reasons that I was largely involved in curating shows at a grassroots level was being able to expose New South Wales language groups, people that live inside the New South Wales state boundary, and showcasing New South Wales language group artists, because a lot of the time, you know, our work is superseded in the tiered system of the non-Aboriginal art world, as the traditional art is like the real and the grade, and the urban art is like, yes, it's got traction, but for us in New South Wales, largely, I think a lot of our people have been ignored. So that's my flagship moment. So I basically have spent my life trying to promote people from New South Wales, the first hit, you know, from colonisation. So I always say first, you know, colonised, last recognised, and I still think that's quite apparent.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of the art becomes really generalised as well, and it gets lost in translation, the specifics to like a language group and a culture group within the Aboriginal world as well.
Yeah, I think the difficulty is that, you know, you're working largely as an outsider in an already entrenched art world, which really was predicated by colonialist thinking.
Yeah,
so when they came, you know, here in the first days, they tried to paint like, you know, all of the guys in England. Well, obviously the light is incredibly different in Australia.
Yeah.
And I think with the 80s, and particularly places like Boomalli and Anchor, the appreciation of artists' stories and stories of survival had a higher level of appreciation, because a lot of Aboriginal people started writing about their work.
Yeah.
And places like Boomalli were intrinsic to creating an international profile about the urban experience as such. So I think, you know, obviously the history will tell a story, but on a personal level, I think we've got a lot of work to do, even from this point onwards. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you'd like to improve, like mostly improve on within the art world? Like, would you guys like more recognition and more understanding? Or?
Well, all of my philosophy is based on equity, so I believe that all artists have a story, and
Absolutely.
I also don't believe in making a star system, so I'm very much against elitism, and you know, in all spheres of our life, people like to have a star. And unfortunately what that does is it disassociates people from the community, and after all, we belong to a global community.
Yeah, we do.
And we should be seeking to value the story of every individual within that context, and that's my belief. So that's not generally a lot of other people's beliefs, but that's what I believe in. So all of my life as both an artist and you know, in the role as a curator in presenting people's art, is that I believe in equity for all of the artists. I want to do the best for every single person. So that's kind of my engine room.
Do you ever, like, in order to do that, do you become more involved with the artist? So you want to, because you're a curator and you're curating someone else's work, so there's like a line where you must like involve yourself.
I know nearly everyone that I've curated and known them for decades. So it's like, you know, I think they trust you with their work, but also I do try to push them a bit and say, you know, like, would you like to think about that or this? But I don't want to be a person ever that takes someone off their track line to do what I want them to do. And that often can be a trap for artists, because what happens when they become popular or famous or a star is that they end up doing the work that other people want, and they don't genuinely sort of stay on track to see the evolution of their own journey that's not been, you know, intersected by powerful forces. And it's really difficult for people to maintain that autonomy in their art practice. And actually be true to their own journey.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
so that's highly problematic because you know, if you want to be in the Sydney Morning Herald or you want to be, you know, people to think you're a great artist, well, you kind of got to go with the flow on that. But often it can actually halt your natural journey
Progression.
as an
Yeah.
artist, I
Yeah.
feel. So I'm not big on that.
Yeah, it's more about the individual's journey and how they
Yeah.
progress with their work.
Yeah, well, I always thought that there was a statement by some great philosophers that said, and I can't remember its name, so what's the point of quoting it? But largely it's not, it's where the person came from and where they ended up is the transactional understanding about what they actually contributed to the world over their lifetime.
Yeah, it's not about the status that they hold within their work.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay. This is kind of like going along with that question about, I think we answered that, of how involved you are with the artists, and you said you were pretty involved. You like to make sure that you have a good relationship with the artists. So you can, and so when working with artists from different communities, are you especially mindful of their different spiritual beliefs and standards? Are there special actions you would take to show this, or like when curating?
Well, largely most of the work that we deal with here is what I would ascertain as public art.
Yeah.
So I do remember when Daphne Wallace established the Urbana Gallery at New South Wales Art Gallery, and she got $1 million out of Qantas, and she was the curator at the time. She was responsible for Aboriginal people having the Urbana Gallery at New South Wales Art Gallery. And when she did a particular show, she had a men's room and a women's room. Yeah. So she actually custom made particular rooms for specifically to men and women. Yeah. But most of the work that we do here at Boomalli and that I've worked with is, you know, younger people who are talking about their family and their story, their family lines and their stories from home. So basically what they present is what they want to show. Yeah. So there's no specific sort of alterations or altering of the rooms or the showing of it. And with the Secret Sacred stuff, which really emerged, you know, out of Papunya when they painted over the boards, they didn't want people to read the Secret Sacred, so that's when the dot, you know, came in and they painted over those boards, and that became, you know, a way of people seeing the art but not seeing the Secret Sacred. Yeah. So there's sort of like a lot of nuances and iterations around what people are allowed to see and not see. Yeah. So we just, you know, we would not show anything that we, like if we thought that somebody had borrowed something, we would not show it. Yeah. You know, if someone,
personal respect.
Yeah, well, if it was like, if someone was painting a Wandjina and they came from New South Wales, well, obviously we'd have a major problem with that. So I'm very big on copyright, and I'm also very big on cultural protocols around the rights of different groups to be able to own, protect, and continue to evolve their own stories. So it's, you know, incredibly important to be respectful. Yeah. But that's kind of, there's a lot of iterations around how people present work. Yeah. But I just know when we get given work here, it's all for public display. Yeah. So we don't have to take any specific precautions around presentation.
Yeah, but you're just mindful of stuff.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. And we do get into trouble sometimes when we tell people we think it's too close to somebody else's work, and it does not make it very comfortable for us to have to say that as a board, or I'm not on the board, but I was. But you know, it's something I think you've got to stand up for the rights of all people from their area and language group. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what excites you most about curating Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander art?
I think one of the things that's exciting is just seeing someone's face when they actually sell something. And I mean, this is something that I write about in our grant applications constantly when we're seeking funding, is that a lot of 50% of our members here in Boomalli are regional New South Wales, like in the state of New South Wales. So to actually quantify and qualify what a sale means to somebody in a metropolitan, you know, large city like Sydney, and to put money back into the hands of a person who's creating in isolation generally, and allow that a bit of economy around their art, plus the feedback on, oh my God, somebody likes my work. Yeah. And ultimately the public are the ultimate, you know, predicators of what they like. Yeah. and generally that, you know, they hit the mark pretty well. Like good work sells.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, it's just, I think, ultimately incredibly satisfying for anyone in the arts industry to support people, anyone in our community that's going to make additional money on top of, you know, what they wouldn't earn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also put value to the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice when you create a work and someone else shows appreciation for it. You feel appreciated.
Absolutely,
so
and we do get some things in collections, but we're not kind of, well, we don't have enough people on the ground to actually chase acquisitions generally most of the time. But you know, like we do get a lot of support in here for our artists, and the shows are always really well presented. So it's very cool.
Yeah, it must be awesome.
It is awesome with a couple of E's.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges about curating Aboriginal art? Like, what is the most challenging thing for you as a curator?
Oh, well, there's a lot of challenges. I mean, when we set up Boomalli, ultimately 30 years ago, we were chasing independent Aboriginal curators to take over and talk about our art and our work from an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander viewpoint. And I think we've traversed that landscape, and I think some of the difficulties that we have is that we are working within a microcosm, within a macro moment, which is the art world, and it becomes very small. And so I think I'm big on the democratisation of, you know, Aboriginal presentations in major shows, triennials, you know, the Art Gallery of New South Wales, the National Art Gallery. I'd love to see a New South Wales survey show at the Aboriginal Art Gallery, which has not, in New South Wales, which has not happened.